with us as soon as she's able to. And I want to thank you all for participating in this call. I'm getting really close because my friends keep telling me that my voice is in and out. So I'm going to try to talk really loud and be close to the microphone. So this is the third session of a little experiment that we've been doing called 40 Minutes to Greater Advocacy Impact. And we've had different people joining us different times, and it's good to see all of you back after the last session. It's super exciting to know about the involvement that we all have in advocacy work in the area. And Pam's going to lead us through a time of getting updates on that. But I wanted to open with just some encouraging news on our advocacy work. So while we know that we are extremely short of housing to be able to have everyone in our community housed, we do want to celebrate some new developments that have become made public in just the last week and a half, actually. And as we become aware of these, we can thank our elected leaders for the work that they have done to make them happen. And we can also use them as examples of more housing that can be developed as we do our calling and our emailing and such. So one of the developments is a state housing granted fund of $3.1 million. And that's for assisted living and low-income housing that the Colorado Coalition for the Homeless plans to build on what is now the parking lot next to the Stout Street Health Center. The first 3 floors will be the 75-bed Stout Street Recuperative Care Facility. And so, you know, the Colorado Coalition for the Homeless is known for their health care for people who are experiencing homelessness. And so they'll be able to move people into that facility to recover further after their hospitalization. The second one is a brand new shelter in the Park Hill neighborhood. And just last Monday, August the 31st, Denver City Council approved a new lease agreement to provide that shelter for hundreds of people experiencing homelessness. And they did this as part of the city's ongoing effort to provide a safe place to go in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic. And between 350 and 450 people will be able to go. It's flexible space to offer a variety of needs as well as various gender groups. And another great plus for it is that the shelter will have wraparound services. So it will include a navigation center to help folks find the services that they need, and also connections to a rehousing system. So this is when we start talking about rapid rehousing, and that's what we want. We know that people will become homeless and may have to go to a shelter, but we want them to get rehoused as quickly as possible. And ideally, as you know, we're advocating for individual and joint housing with wraparound services depending on their relationship status. And then the third thing I wanted to talk to you about, and you may have seen this, is that on Tuesday, we were talking at the beginning of this call about the snowstorm, and the mayor announced on Facebook on Tuesday different shelters that were available, especially at a time of need for the winter weather storm. And so they opened up Glen Arm Recreation Center for women and transgender individuals. And in his notice, he gave the hours and the address. And then Denver Rescue Mission reopened. They are still out at the National Western facilities, but they reopened in town on that day, that night, to house folks who were downtown. And then he gave the hours for the St. Francis Center being open that day and the Gathering Place. And then a link to the city and county website for where people could find shelter. So those are some developments. We're not used to having that. And so it was just really wonderful that the information was out there. And I do believe that our advocacy work is playing into this work that our city council and then our mayor are increasingly understanding are important to us. So Pam, let me turn it over to you.
Okay. Well, now it's turn it over to me so that I can ask you for our check-in time. What is it that you would like to report that you have, who you have talked to, or various experiments that you have made in trying to communicate with people since the last time we met? And Monica has agreed to start us off with her experience. So Monica, why don't you go right ahead?
Yeah, I had a great time. It was actually like a Friday, and I wasn't feeling great, so I took a day off of work. But then I was like, but I'm not feeling that bad. I'm just going to call people. It was really great. I started out with Corey Gardner's office, and somebody actually answered the phone, and I was very surprised because I had like my little speech that I had written up, and I was like, oh, you're a human. Oh, I'll talk to you. So it was a little awkward at first, but then it got going, and his name was Joe, and he was really nice. We talked about like the Heroes Act, and it was just a really good, positive experience because it seemed like he was interested. I kind of gave some like personal anecdotes about like why this is important, and he seemed really, he seemed nice about it, and it just went really, really well. But then from there on out, nobody else answered the phone, so I left a whole bunch of messages. Yeah. It's more what I was expecting. So, but it was great. Yeah, I left a message with Michael Bennett's office, and then Jared Polis, and then that was when I sent the email about, because I'd had some other friends that were saying that you should call Jared Polis about the Elijah McClain stuff, and I was like, well, I really want to talk to him about that, but I also want to talk to him about the homelessness, and I want to talk about a lot of things. And so that message was maybe a little more rambly than I would have hoped, but I hope I got some points across. Yeah, it was really great. And then I called some more people about Breonna Taylor, and it was just like a very empowering day. It was like, oh, I can do this thing, and it's not that hard.
Yeah. Well, and even if you have to leave a message and not talk to people, you get counted. That's the important thing.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's good.
Sure. Because every call or report or email or Twitter or whatever it is another tally of a constituent who cares about a particular issue. Isn't that right, Deb? Yeah. So it's nice to talk to people, and but it still matters. Yeah. So that's a good thing. Yeah. Right. Somebody else? Well, I'll ask Joan if she'll tell us about something that kind of happened that she wasn't expecting to happen, having to do with a TV news anchor.
Well, and part of the lesson that I learned with this is when you sign up for somebody's Facebook page, like if it's Candy or the mayor, governor, you'll get posts when they're live, and they're maybe talking or walking around, and they're commenting on things. And if you're doing nothing, like I occasionally am doing more than not, you can just turn them on. So I don't know if any of you know Chris Parente. He is the Channel 2 news anchor in the morning on Channel 2 from like 4:30 till 9, something like that. Anyway, I've liked him for years, and he's funny, and he used to just do the entertainment side of it. Now he's an anchor. So he had something come up, and I just turned it on, and he was walking around Maury Middle School. And I think all of you are probably familiar with the crisis around Maury Middle School, how there was just tents lining that whole block, and it was getting dangerous, and he lived across the street from it. So he was walking, and he was filming it, and he was saying, what are we going to do? Who's listening? Who's taking care of this? Where are these homeless people? Nobody wants them, blah, blah, blah. And all I kept doing is typing in, St. Francis does. St. Francis does. Yes, we do. Yes, St. Francis does. And I just kept saying it over and over again. And I thought he would acknowledge it, but he didn't. But the next day, I got a text message from his husband's. Can't remember how he, I guess he records his conversations, so they probably looked me up on Messenger. So I got a text husband from his husband, and he wanted to know more about St. Francis. Well, to make a long story short, I got them hooked up with St. Francis. They volunteer now on Saturdays with St. Francis. And and Chris, who is just he's just a wonderful, kind, passionate, very passionate man. Anyway, he is going to be the MC for the St. Francis Gala this year. So yeah, I know. He's just taken this on, and I'm just so proud. I ran into Tom Lures, and I was saying, I'm sorry, I'm not coming back. I have 9 grandkids, and I can't see the grandkids if I come here. And so and he said, that's all right. Guess what? And so he kind of told me about what was going on with Chris. So I guess, I guess that's a bit of networking, of just trying to, but I think it really is good if Facebook is on and it pops up on your feed, see what they're talking about, see where they're walking, talking, what they're doing, and post in the comments, because they record those. So that's another simple way we can network.
Yeah, that was great. It was especially fun because you were so spontaneous.
Well, get somebody that's noticed in the city to represent St. Francis, to get somebody that has lots of friends in big places, and he, I think he can garner some power behind his friends that he has, I hope.
Right. And if they're actually working there now, that's great, because now there'll be that heart connection.
Yeah.
Right. So, and we all know that when you meet the people, that things change inside of you. They kind of shuffle around, and
Yeah, I at first thought they weren't going to do it, because it was like a month and a half after we chatted, and then they were pulling it together, I guess, but they did, and now they just said, we love it.
It's great.
Yeah.
Wow. Very nice. Very nice.
It's a remarkable story.
Well,
Isn't that great?
All I've done is call Polis's office and leave a message, but at least I did do that.
Yeah. Well, one of these days when you call, you'll get a real person.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's worth it. Yeah. That's what their aides are for, and they're pretty remarkable people, aren't they, Monica?
Yeah. That Joey just gave me all the time I needed. And I didn't feel rushed or anything. He was just like, do you have anything else to talk about? And I'm like, do I?
Wow.
You could have said about this weather.
One of the things that I really loved that Sue Schaefer said to us when we met last time was that our elected people want to hear from us. That's why they're doing that job, is because they want to represent us. And I think that has helped me follow through a lot more than I would if I didn't realize that they really do want to hear from us. I mean, that's why they're there. So it's good.
Right. Yeah. Okay, anyone else have something they want to chip in on this topic?
I did notice, Deb, the last time we were together, you mentioned the experiment that they were trying out with the police department in the downtown area of Denver when 911 calls come in a certain, right around the Capitol, I think. They would send medical personnel, mental and physical medical personnel, and that is ongoing now and made the paper this last week. I don't know if you saw the article about that.
Yes, it's great. And there's actually other cities that are doing the same thing. And so we have a bit of a collaboration going now
Nice.
which always helps when you can share the
Mhm.
stories of success from city to city.
Yeah.
And so Leslie Harrod is the one who created that STAR program. That's one of her initiatives.
Yeah,
And so
STAR.
she just continues to give energy to that. And yeah, a lot more people are talking about it all the time. It's wonderful.
Mhm.
So it's not a pilot anymore. Now it's an actual mainstream program. That'll be there.
I
Is that
don't
right?
know. I don't know what the
I don't
status
know.
is.
That's a question. Yeah.
I don't know either.
I just know that it's moving forward. They're doing it. There's getting
Yeah.
more support of it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Well, it's wonderful that it was already set up before the whole racial awareness, whatever you want to call it, happened.
Mhm.
Yeah, crisis happened, because it was right there to point to that, our elected officials are already thinking about these things. It's not like we have to start from zero. We may have to start from, pretty low down, but at least it's not from zero.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's good stuff. Great. Well, let's move on now. And Deb, you go into the lean-in time and talk to us more about social media.
Yeah, I'm happy to. I'm going to try to keep an eye on my clock here so that I can turn it back over to Pam at the appropriate time. But yeah, we decided to make this third session on tips for using social media as a resource for advocacy. And I know that you all are familiar with social media and prefer to use different methods, but I'm just going to talk about a couple tonight, and then we'll do some practical looking at a couple of sites too. So to begin with, you probably recognize the name National Low Income Housing Coalition because we talk about them a lot. We partner up with them as a national organization to help us with the information that we need to do our advocacy on a national level. And as you know, they organize specific days of action. And so we have done emailing on a particular day or phone calling on a particular day. And that always goes to elected leaders. So another tool that National Low Income Housing Coalition, NLIHC, uses for advocacy is Twitter. Who on this call uses Twitter? Monica does.
One.
Yes, I do a little bit, not as much as Facebook or Instagram, but I do use Twitter. And so I'm going to give you a little bit of a foundation of that. Twitter is a social networking service on which users post and interact with messages that are known as tweets. I'm sure you knew that. And a tweet is limited to 280 characters and uses hashtags to categorize tweets by keywords so that they're easy to show up when somebody does a search. And so NLIHC hosted a tweet storm yesterday at 7 a.m. Mountain Time with the hashtag Get Back to Work to keep the pressure on Congress and the White House to get back to work on negotiations to enact the COVID-19 relief bill that we have been advocating for. To provide the emergency rental assistance to go along with the national moratorium on evictions that has been put into place. So that's a little bit about Twitter. And there are other social media networking services out there, and I've seen the most probably on Facebook. And we use Instagram at Trinity, and we also, hi Cheryl, glad that you joined us. Thanks for being
Hi. Sorry to interrupt.
No
I just
problem.
want to say that my computer went totally black right before this. I have no idea what happened. Many apologies.
It
But
happens
you're
to all of us at some point or another. So we're just glad that you're here. We're
Yeah.
talking about social media and using social media for advocacy. And so I'm just getting ready to talk about Facebook, and that's where we're going to spend the majority of our conversation tonight. So, on Facebook, I've seen, I think
Deb?
probably, yes.
Before you make that transition, something really, really dumb All right, so Twitter and get back to work and hashtag. Okay, just give me concretely, what do you do hashtag?
It's the pound sign.
It's all I'm talking about is
That's a
a pound.
hashtag, is the pound sign, yeah.
So a
And
pound
so,
sign is sitting before the words get back to work.
yeah,
That's it?
yeah. And so if you go to NLIHC website,
Hmm.
you'll see whenever they do a tweet storm or a Twitter storm,
Yeah.
it's not there now because it happened yesterday, so you won't find it now. But whenever they are announcing a day that they're going to do that kind of an advocacy, they'll give you the tagline. So you just copy it exactly the way it is. So you'll know exactly what it is. So if you want to get ready to use Twitter, what you can do is go ahead and download the app. It's free. And I had to do it again because mine, I had forgotten the password. So I did it again, and I only just follow like housing people and elected leaders. Like mine is really focused on housing advocacy. And I, a lot of times will see tweets from Diane Yentel, the executive director for NLIHC, and you can even retweet what it is that she puts out there. And she retweeted me one day for what I put out there.
All right.
Yeah, and we thanked our Congress people for something that they did with the relief bill, and I tagged them in it, and they thanked me, and I think Bennett wrote back with something else that he was doing. So it's a really interactive platform. And I think that because you're limited to only 280 characters, it keeps it moving. So people don't get bogged down with so much information like we often do or can do on Facebook. So it's a different person, I think, that's on Twitter. But I think that a lot of elected leaders like it because it's easy to connect across the country on it and share what it is that they're doing. So they'll share what the bills are that they're working on and who's supporting it. And it's just quick, it's a fast way to do it.
Thank you. Sorry.
So if you follow NLIHC, if you go to their website, if you do the Monday calls, you'll see, then you'll notice it the next time they're doing a tweet storm. All right. So,
Thank you.
yeah. So I have about 6 more minutes. All right. So now I'm going to talk about Facebook. And I have seen many of our Denver City Council people on Facebook. And I follow several of them. The mayor I mentioned earlier made an announcement. He's on Facebook. The head of the housing department, Britta Fisher, is on Facebook. Chris Connor, who works for her, who does a lot with the shelters, is on Facebook. And so some people just do business or professional things on their Facebook account, but a lot of people will do both personal and professional. And I follow Chris Parenti that Joan talked about on Facebook as she does. And so there's a lot of ways to learn about what different people are doing and even to get a little bit of an idea of the way that they look at legislation that's coming down the pike or reforms. We've had a lot of talk about reforms since the killing of George Floyd. So it's a really good way to get to know what your city council person or the mayor or a city staff member thinks about a certain topic. So does anybody on this call follow a city council person, a Denver city council person on Facebook? Jan, who do you follow? Chris Hines. You're on mute, but I read your lips. Chris Hines.
Yeah, Chris. Me too.
Me too.
Yeah.
Glad you didn't have on a mask.
I
Okay.
didn't want you to listen to me chew, but I've got to eat my dinner right now. So
Can't
but
follow
that's what
Chris
it is.
Hines.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else follow anybody on city council or the mayor? Joan, who do you
I
follow?
follow John Hickenlooper and the mayor and Candy.
Okay, good.
I don't know how to say her last name.
Cedar
Buck.
Buck.
Cedar Buck. Thank you.
Tabaka. Good. Yeah, those are great. And so we've talked about this before, but I don't know if everybody has heard this information. If you don't live in Denver and therefore you don't have a Denver City Council person, your city council person would be Chris Hines, because he is Trinity's city council person. And he is very interested in what we think at Trinity. And he's very thankful for the way that we are showing up in the community. So he's always happy to hear from you, and just say, I am part of Trinity. And you can tell him that you're part of the Housing for Our Allyship, because he knows about us. The other people that you can be in touch with on Denver's City Council, whether you live in Denver or not, are Robin Kinich, because
Oh, yes,
Robin
I'm in touch with
is a
her.
council person at large.
Yep.
He came and spoke to us just before the pandemic struck. And then there's another person who is at large, and I don't know that person, and I don't follow that person because I just haven't yet. But we actually have an article that we're going to send out to you. Pam's going to talk about it more, but it's really easy to go to the city council website and see who all the council people are and the district that they're in. And so Chris Hines is for Trinity. Robin Kinich is at large. There's another person at large that you can find on that list. And then if you live in Denver, if you don't know who your city council person is or persons are, you can find them. There's a map to find where you are in the district and who your reps are. And so I also follow Candy Sidabaka because I live in Denver and she is my council person. And I also follow Lisa Calderon because she is Candy Sidabaka's chief of staff. And Lisa Calderon ran for mayor against Michael Hancock. And she is very, very involved. And so, Joan, would you go ahead and put up the Facebook page for Candy Sidabaka? I want everybody to see what it looks like and the kind of information that she does. There she is. And she is super active. And can you go ahead and scroll down a little bit? You can see the events that she has coming up. Here's a post. She's got some COVID-19 resources. Let's go down to a housing something. There was a housing something that she had up here that I saw earlier today. There's a reminder to complete the census. Okay, right here.
Okay.
Stop right there, please.
Yes.
Okay, so if you didn't know about it, you could find out that they are calling for applications for people to serve on the Housing Stability Strategic Advisors Group. So here she is. She's calling on the community to be involved in housing. And so I'm sure that you have to live in Denver. And then there's some different ways that you can be involved. So she's got her bullet points there of what the applicants look like. And so she is really active in trying to get the community involved. Can you scroll down a little bit more and let's see if there's anything else that we want to think about? A lot of times she'll post articles from different cities of housing things that they're doing. Stop there. There's a Denver Parks and Rec Advisory Board meeting. So she's got the agenda posted and all of the things that are going to be on it and how you could prepare for that. Scroll a little bit more. I'm about out of time. But I wanted to see, keep going. There's another one down here that I wanted to show. Keep going. I think that look at that. Okay. So she reposted right there. The Denver Homeless Out Loud. So they posted on Facebook, we're getting ready for snow. We need people to donate survival gear. And so she posted that for Denver Homeless Out Loud. And so community members that want to be involved in gathering the sleeping bags and the water and whatever it is that this organization is gathering, she is connecting the community together so that we can serve. And so that'll be enough for her. If you can switch over to the other one that we want to show.
Sure.
But that's the kind of information that we can get by following our city council persons, and it gives you a really good idea of where she sits with things, and you can reply. I've had conversations back and forth with her when I have agreed with the stance that she's taking on housing, and I want to support her with that. And I've asked her, how can I speak out on that? What's the best way for me to advocate for that? And she's very engaging. And Lisa Calderon is the same, and they work on the same issues together. So hopefully that little overview was helpful. And then here is our Housing for All Allyship Facebook page. And so this is a trend page. It's our page. And as of now, I'm the person who posts on here. Can you scroll down a little bit?
Sure.
So I found several articles today. What to do if you can't pay your rent. So that's the brand new strategies for what to do with the new moratorium. You actually have to fill out a form before you can be protected by that moratorium. And a lot of people don't know that. Okay, can you scroll down to the next one? So here's an idea that I found when I was looking at articles. Innovative renovations of old hotels make perfect affordable housing. So this is where we can gather some research to present to our city council people of ideas that are being successful in other cities. And so I hope that if you're not following this page yet, that you'll like it. You can find it by just searching for Housing for All Allyship, or you see the tag on the left of the screen there. It's at Housing for All Allyship all together. And if you could just follow that, we need to get our subscribers up to 100, and then we can start boosting things. It's a fairly new page. So anyway, I hope that you'll look at that, and I'll send out the link in the follow-up email. And that's everything I wanted to say. It's your turn, Pam.
Wow. Good job. Well, before I do what I'm going to do, so I wanted to ask you about Facebook. If you're going to like, how important is it to like and to comment? Do you need to comment like within the 24 hours after the thing is done? Because it just keeps scrolling along, and I wonder how,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
No,
not going to check it every day. I'm sorry.
there's no time limit. But if you want to interact with whoever's posting, it's better to do it sooner
Of
than
course,
later.
the most recent, yeah.
And also, whatever you comment on, it updates it. It takes it to the top of the page. And so, like my picture of me with my grandbaby that I posted last Friday, people keep commenting on it, so it keeps going to the top of my feed, which I like, because that way more people see it.
So when it's commented on, it goes to the top.
Yeah. So so no
Really?
matter
That's
what
good
you
to
do
know.
with it, just make a short
All right.
comment. You don't have a lot to say. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Okay. Well, Deb, I'm going to, excuse me, my voice seems to have failed me here. Not completely, though. I'll just talk a little louder. Deb's already referred to some of the ways that we can act out currently. And I look back at our purpose statement and realized that it had two parts to it. One is equipping, and one is working with national and local leaders. And so some of our recommendations for this week I have to do with equipping. And one of them is the magazine article from the magazine 303 that Deb mentioned about. It's called Civic Engagement in Colorado. And it's really nice because it's so locally oriented. It's very specific. And she'll send you the link to that. It's only, what, 5 pages, you said? It's a good article. Yep. And the other thing is to register for the conversation with Ta-Nehisi Coates in October. And this is sponsored by, but you can get to it. Well, Deb will send you the link. But the name, listen to the name of his talk. Racial Equity and Housing Justice During and After COVID-19. I mean, really, isn't that amazing? And this guy is really an expert. So this is really, really good. It is during the day. However, there's a note at the bottom of this. It says there will be a video recording of this live stream event available for 2 weeks afterwards. So check it out. Yeah,
What's
and
the
then I
date
just
of that
realized
again?
The date,
October 6th. October 6th at 1 o'clock. And it
Actually
registers.
11. It's 11 our time.
Oh, yeah,
then I
that's
put that in
Eastern.
my
That's
phone
Eastern.
wrong. Whoops.
And this is on Facebook or what?
No, it's a live streamed. Do you want to explain it, Deb?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
well, I'm
it's,
just
yeah,
saying, how do we find it? Yeah.
yeah.
But when you
Whenever
register,
I'm going to send you the link to register. And when you register,
Oh.
they send you a password to put in.
Oh.
And
Okay.
sometimes it's tricky. We've learned this because we've done a few of these, that when they send you the password, it comes from TV World. And so then when you go look for the password to log in that day, you're like, what was the name of that thing?
Yeah.
So this time I put the password in my phone, so I could copy it off of my phone. So just remember that it's who it's from so that you can find it on the day.
I'm going to have to write that down. TV World. Oh my gosh.
When you get the registration link back, you'll see what it is. You can
Good.
flag it.
Good. Thank you.
You're going to close this out now, Pam?
Yep, I am. And keep on with getting after our senators to get back to work. You can do that on the NLIHC page too. Okay. So thank you all for being with us. I'd like to close us with a little prayer. Dear God, thank you for providing us with shelter, often with more space and comfort than we need. Forgive us when we stop at gratitude for what we have, rather than allowing gratitude to lead us to compassion for our neighbors who have no shelter at all. Give us wisdom and persistence to act on their behalf in whatever way we can. And thank you for each other. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Pam. Thank you all for joining. I'll be sending out that follow-up email and we'll keep at this.
Good to see you.
Thank
Good to
you.
see you
Have a
all.
good night.
Everybody.
See everyone.